This video you're about to watch is
Massacre the next generation.
S.W.Frost
and
is
they
now
made sure to
live
plaster
streaming
their
our
big
greatest
stars
digital
all
scammers
over
counter
it.
so far last
A
week
bit
for the
scummy,
trials
but
of
hey, I'd say it worked. If you went to a video store in the late 90s, it was hard to pass up this cover. I mean, sure, once you got it home, most hated it, but still. People can be very salty regarding this movie. Just look at what somebody put in the IMDb trivia.
Mistakenly known as a slasher movie, Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a horror thriller movie. The trademark element of slasher, sharp weapon killings, is non-existent in this movie.
Yes, because a movie where a bunch of teens are needlessly killed doesn't qualify, because they're only burned, hammered, and airplaned to death. Don't slasher gatekeep. Plus, if you enjoy the film, you're in pretty good company, as Last Drive-In critic Joe Bob Briggs is a fan. And I mean, his favorite movie of all time is the original.
Get her, Leather! We got some more fun today!
This was the final installment of the series until the remake in 2003 that started up a whole new timeline. That series has plenty of ups and downs, but they all tend to keep the idea of Leatherface and his family of misfits. Hopefully the current series can course correct and introduce a family for Leatherface to play off of, versus just the hulking Jason Voorhees path he seems to be on. I know that everyone has their vision of
Visitors, breakers, up the lid, pods are open, launching now.
Hello there.
Hello.
Don't shoot.
Howdy. Thanks. Have fun looting.
Alright.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to my channel.
Watch out, watch out. Kaboom, kaboom. Hello.
there. Wasp up there. Spotted a wasp up there. Wasp up there.
Thanks.
Howdy!
And watch out, there is somebody shooting people at the apartments. Watch yourself.
Hey, Raider!
I don't know.
en route. The safe window is closing. You have 10 minutes to return to Speranza. I repeat, 10 minutes. 5 minutes left. Go find your way home. I repeat, 5 minutes.
I'm glad that those who wanted a brute force killer got their form of him. But can we get back to these days? Please?
In 1974, director Toby Hooper brought us the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, an independent production shot in the heat of a Texas summer that introduced us to a chainsaw-wielding cannibal called Leatherface, and his twisted family. It was a box office hit and quickly became one of the most popular and respected horror films of all time. So, of course, there was eventually a remake. Produced by one of the biggest, flashiest filmmakers in the industry. Directed by a music video director in his feature debut. Starring an actress from a family-friendly TV show. It sounds like a recipe for disaster. But when the remake was released in 2003, it was another success story. We're going to dig into the making of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in this episode of What the F*** Happened to This Horror Movie. Between 1974 and 2003, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre spawned 3 sequels. While all of them have their fans, none were able to come close to the popularity or financial success of the groundbreaking original. One fan was producer Mike Fleiss, the mastermind behind the Bachelor reality series. He started pursuing the chainsaw rights in the mid-90s and was finally able to secure them in 2001. But he didn't want to just produce another sequel. He thought it was time for a remake. And his chainsaw rights victory coincided with an announcement that a new production company was being launched by Michael Bay, the director behind big-budget blockbusters like Bad Boys, The Rock, and Armageddon. Bay was teaming up with producers Brad Fuller and Andrew Form to run Platinum Dunes. The idea was they would make lower-budgeted movies that had a lot of profit potential. Fleiss was friends with Fuller, so he brought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to Platinum Dunes. It would be the perfect first project for the company. Because it had strong name recognition and a hook that could be exploited in marketing, the original had been presented as if it were a true story. A lot of people believed it was. They thought Leatherface really existed. So the remake would also be presented in the same way. Chainsaw was inspired by the true crime case of murderer and grave robber Ed Gein, whose story also inspired the likes of Psycho, Deranged, and The Silence of the Lambs. But there was never actually a person called Leatherface who turns people into barbecue with his messed up family. Bay didn't intend to direct the remake himself. One of his goals with Platinum Dunes was to give young or first-time directors a chance to get their careers rolling. But he did direct a teaser trailer for the film that would show that the American film market. It played out in complete darkness. You can only hear the sound of a female victim trying to escape from someone who's chasing her. Then you hear the attacker rev up a chainsaw. This teaser was effective enough to land multiple distribution deals, including one with a company that had chainsaw experience, New Line Cinema, which had been one of the original's distributors and had made Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in 1990. The project moved forward with a $9.5 million budget, a substantially higher budget than any previous film in the franchise, especially the original, which cost less than $140,000. Rumours circulated that Toby Hooper and his chainsaw co-writer Kim Henkel would be writing a new script. But that wasn't accurate. Hooper told Cityscape he didn't have much to do with the project.
I tried organizing the shelves once.
Quote, I didn't have to sign up on it. I'm involved kind of
Classic grenade. Can't go wrong.
I don't have the slightest idea of what I'm going to see. I hope it's interesting. I think it's a matter of digging up enough of the spirit of these crazy times we're in. Because really, that's what Chainsaw was and is. The original bubbled up out of its times, and these times are far richer and deeper with horror than back then. End quote. The producers needed to find a good reason for the story to be retold 30 years later. And it fell on first-time screenwriter Scott Kozar to come up with that reason. At first, he was wary of the idea of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre getting a remake. But Platinum Dunes assured him they wanted to go for the jugular. So, he brought some good ideas to the table and won the producers over with his respect for the original film. Keeping the setting in the 70s was always part of the plan, as the filmmakers didn't want to deal with modern technology like cell phones. Early in development, it was rumoured that original Chainsaw star Marilyn Burns would be returning as the survivor who reveals what really happened in '73. But that didn't pan out. The finished film begins with a narrator, John Larroquette, who also provided the opening narration for the first movie, talking about a newly unearthed crime scene video. The narration and a clip from the video quickly allows the film to jump back in time. With the writer in place, Platinum Dunes offered the directing job to Marcus Nispel. Nispel hadn't made a feature before, but he had directed 250 music videos. And he had been turning down movie offers for the last 15 years. Studios wanted him to direct huge action movies. He had a near miss with the 1999 Arnold Schwarzenegger movie End of Days. But he was cautious because he wanted to have creative control. He wanted to be able to experiment on his first film. He wanted to go dark. A remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a movie he hadn't even seen because he figured it was a splatter movie. Didn't appeal to him either. The only reason he agreed to make the film is because one of his frequent collaborators was cinematographer Daniel Pearl, a prolific music video cinematographer who had gotten his start by working on the original Chainsaw when he was only in his early 20s. Nismo told Starburst magazine, quote, "I actually got really mad at my agent because I didn't want to make a remake. I wanted to do something authentic, something that comes out of me and tells people who I am. Then I bitched about it to Daniel Pearl. I said, Daniel, this is blasphemy. They're remaking your movie and they'll screw it up." And he says, "Well, you've got to direct it. If you're going to direct it, you're going to hire me and I'm going to make the same movie twice. Once at the beginning of my career and once at the end of my career." So I was like, let's just do it. Let's go for it. End quote. Nismo watched the original movie and saw that he had been wrong about it. Then headed to Texas with Pearl so his cinematographer would have the chance to make a more polished Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Pearl wanted to make sure the remake would be as good and scary as the original. But he didn't want it to be gritty and grainy in the same way. He didn't want to copy himself. For this one, he shot on 35mm film instead of 16mm, and decided to go for the bleach bypass look. Skipping bleach while processing the film leaves silver in the print and increases contrast. It's kind of like having a black and white image laid over a colour. Pearl wasn't entirely happy with the result because it made the early scenes in the film murkier than he intended. He wanted the summer sky to be blue in the moments before the horror kicks in. He was hoping to be able to manipulate specific scenes digitally to get the look he wanted, but there wasn't money for that in the budget. So the film was finished photochemically.
Hey, hello!
Howdy.
Howdy! Hello, Raider!
Hello.
Hello there! Howdy!
Uh-huh. Same. You got 2 cabinets here. Building next to plaza.
Hello, Raider!
Hello.
Howdy!
We have ARC on screen. 5 minutes left. Go find a way home. I repeat, 5 minutes.
Hello there! Howdy!
So, Leatherface aside, he created a new group of characters. Played by Eric Balfour, Jonathan Tucker, Mike Vogel, and Blair Witch 2's Eric Eliason, Kozar's characters are out to party. They're returning from a trip to Mexico, where they scored 2 pounds of marijuana concealed in a piñata. Now they're driving through Texas on the way to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert, listening to and talking about songs that weren't released until 1974. Among this group of potheads is your usual excessively horny couple, who can't keep their hands off each other after just meeting the previous day. We can instantly tell who the final girl is going to be, and not just because she's played by Jessica Biel, who rose to fame through her role on the TV series Seventh Heaven. It's also obvious because her character Erin is the good girl who abstains from drinking alcohol and smoking weed. The script soon gives the stereotypical character some serious issues to deal with. Kozar's first pitch for the remake was his version of the hitchhiker scene. It wouldn't be a recreation of the scene from the original because no one could play creepy and bizarre like Edwin Neal did. Instead of picking up a member of Leatherface's family, these characters pick up a young girl who's just escaped from the family and is extremely traumatized. So much that, when she realizes she's been driven back in the direction of their home, she pulls out a gun and commits suicide. So, the pot smuggling and concert going has to be set aside. These kids need to figure out what to do now that they've got blood and brains all over their van, and a corpse in the back seat. Some of them want to just dump the body and move on with their lives. Others insist on doing the right thing and contacting the authorities. But trying to do the right thing leads them into the home of Leatherface and his demented family. That family includes Marietta Merrick as Luda May, who runs a gas station, David Dorfman as a little boy named Jedediah, who isn't completely on board with what his family is up to. Heather Kafka and Kathy Lampkin play Henrietta and the Tea Lady, who mostly seem to keep to themselves in a nearby crater. Terrence Evans is Old Monty, a creep without legs. These characters seem interesting enough, but they don't make as much of an impact as the hitchhiker and Jim Sidow's Cook did in the original. Then there's R. Lee Ermey, who largely ad-libbed his way through the role of Sheriff Hoyt, making him such a strong and despicable villain character that he steals the movie right out from under Leatherface. Actor and bodybuilder Andrew Brianowski had worked with Bay on Pearl Harbor. When he heard Bay was producing a Chainsaw remake, he went to him and asked to play Leatherface. He said he was born to carry the saw, but he didn't get the role. Instead, character actor and wrestler Brett Wagner was cast as Leatherface, and only got to work on the movie for a day and a half. While filming the scene where Leatherface kills Eric Balfour's character and drags him across the floor, Wagner suffered heat stroke. Since, like the original, the remake was being filmed during a scorching hot Texas summer, Wagner's muscles locked up and he had to go to the hospital. It took some time to recover, and after 3 days he was informed that the production would need to find a different Leatherface. That's when Brianowski got the role. This Leatherface is a different character than what we've seen before. He was given the full name Thomas Brown Hewitt and a tragic backstory. He was afflicted with skin disease as a child, picked on in school, and had tumours on his face. His nose was eaten away by cancer. This is why he wears masks of human flesh, which was provided by special effects artist Scott Stoddard. Nispel was so interested in humanising the character, he even included a moment where we see him without a mask on, something none of the previous movies had ever done. Brianowski did a good job playing this version of Leatherface, but rubbed some fans the wrong way when he had negative things to say about original Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen. Hansen was offered a cameo in the remake. He would have played the truck driver who gives Erin a ride toward the end, but the filmmakers weren't willing to offer him any more than union minimum for 1 day of work, a $658 payday. Hansen passed, just as he had done when he had gotten low offers to play Leatherface again in the sequels. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake wrapped up after a 38-day shoot in the summer of 2002. As it made its way through post-production, rocker Marilyn Manson was hired to compose the score, something he had just done for Resident Evil, but there were scheduling issues, so Manson had to pass the job over to Steve Jablonsky, whose approach was to compose a score that starts off as sound design and gets increasingly orchestral as the film goes on. The announcement that this film was being made was met with a lot of doubt and negativity, but when it reached theatres in October of 2003, it won over a lot of Chainsaw fans. It got a more positive reception than many ever would have imagined. Marcus Nispel's first feature turned out to be a solid horror film. And for the first time since the original, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie was a box office success. The remake pulled in a worldwide total of almost $108 million, making it the highest grossing installment in the franchise. In the year since its release, it's often been referenced as one of the best films of the 2000s remake boom. It certainly paved the way for many more remakes, several of which came from Platinum Dunes. The movie did so well, the producers even had to figure out how to make a follow-up. They had kind of painted themselves into a corner in the end. They clearly weren't thinking of sequels when they killed Hoyt and chopped off one of Leatherface's arms. That's why, when the next Platinum Dunes Chainsaw movie was released 3 years later, it was a prequel. The franchise continues on to this day. The remake, its prequel, and Thomas Brown Hewitt have been sealed off in their own 2-film pocket of the multiversal timeline. And 20 years after its release, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake still holds up as a well-crafted slasher. A remake that respected the original while being different enough to stand on its own.
When did the Texas Chainsaw movies get so muddled with so many timelines? It's not a hard thing to do. People get lost in Texas and end up victims of Leatherface and his family. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a storyline or a variation on things from time to time. Hell, that's what made Freddy, Michael, and Jason so popular. You could even have done something like the Legacy sequel for Halloween. At least the first one. Oh wait, it didn't turn out well when characters made terrible decisions and weren't likable in the first place? Oh yeah, I remember that one. There have been so many timelines and inconsistencies with the series that it's exhausting and more than a little frustrating to weed through them all. The remake was successful, but a prequel was that.
Hey there! Howdy!
Hello.
Firefly, up there. A hornet.
Hello there!
Hello.
Thanks, Raider.
I see. Watch out for pops.
Hey, Raider!
Hello.
Hey, hello!
I see.
Howdy!
is en route. The safe window is closing. You have 10 minutes to return to Speranza. I repeat, 10 minutes. left. Go find your way home. I repeat, 5 minutes.
Hey! Hey!
Jesus Christ. Hello. Am I gonna press the button? No, 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 no.
I owe you one.
I want to press the button. Thanks. That was close. Maybe I can do Hornets tomorrow. Whatever. Tomorrow is window for expedition. Not the first.
prequel that is the true black sheep of the series. Not the remake itself, not Part 3, and not either of the requels or origin stories. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning does everything you'd want while mixing 70s mentality and early 2000s gore. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake was the first of the big franchises to get the treatment. Before Michael, Freddy, or Jason could run, Leatherface needed to walk, and boy did he ever. The movie was made for $9.5 million and released in the peak of horror season on October 17, 2003. It was a massive success for Platinum Dunes, New Line Cinema, and producer Michael Bay. Yes, that Michael Bay. It brought in $107 million at the box office, but was generally hated by critics, with Roger Ebert giving it the rare 0-star rating.
The worst movie of the year, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This new version is vile, ugly, and contemptible.
Most critics in general felt that it was completely unnecessary as remakes go, and they focused just on the blood and gore instead of the fear exhibited in the original one. Yeah, that's kind of what audiences wanted. And it delivers while looking grimy and bloody. Sequels in this franchise are a bit of a mixed bag to say the least, with 2 almost being a black comedy, Part 3 trying to go back to the sheer horror of the original, and Part 4 involving the Illuminati.
I'm gonna leave, and no one is gonna stop me. You sit the fuck down!
None of them seem to be in the same continuity at times either. There are some things here and there that connect them, but they could also all be standalone slasher entries too. It took almost 3 years, but the producers were finally convinced to let a team go back and tell a prequel story rather than a continuation. Fans wanted to know how the family came to be the way that they are. For writing duties, the movie switched from Scott Kosar to Sheldon Turner and David Chow. Turner would get nominated for an Oscar 4 years later for penning the George Clooney vehicle Up in the Air, and he also wrote the screenplay for Adam Sandler's remake of The Longest Yard and contributed story to X-Men First Class. Chow is more one of us, more of a horror guy. He started his career with an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, followed quickly by, well, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Critters 3, Critters 4, and The Crow would end a fun 90s resume for feature films, and he would have a lot of TV credits including The Outer Limits revival, The Hunger, Masters of Horror, and the new Creepshow TV series. The director would change too from Marcus Nispel to frequent Michael Bay collaborator Jonathan Liebsman. Liebsman has had his own interesting career with horror like today's movie, as well as Darkness Falls and Rings, but also action fare like Battle Los Angeles, Wrath of the Titans, and the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's still working on stuff today with a handful of episodes from 2022's Halo adaptation. The movie opens in 1939, where we get to see the birth of Leatherface. And I don't mean like figuratively, I mean literally his birth, and that's where the first of the showcase gore takes place. We get a little prosthetic baby covered in blood whose mom dies, and because he doesn't look normal, he's cast away to the dumpster outside the slaughterhouse. He's picked up by a woman who later turns out to be a member of the Hewitt family, and then nurture takes over where nature left off.
That's the ugliest thing I ever saw.
We get the opening credits spliced in with the boy growing up and not taking part in what we would call normal activities. We see a case file of sorts on Thomas that explains he has a few problems. Skip ahead to 1969 and the slaughterhouse is closing. They need to tell Thomas that he can't work there anymore, and while he is imposing and has a covering on the lower part of his face, he doesn't have the mask that we all know him for. He's played by Andrew Briniarski, who portrayed the character in the 2003 remake. He's a big dude and plays the role well. He's had a fun career with things like Hudson Hawk, Batman Returns, and of course, Zangief from the Street Fighter movie. Hit me with some of that sweet Raul Julia as Bison. This is the kind of origin story we need. I don't want to see him go through this random journey only to have the movie pull the rug out from under me. Thank you, 2017 origin story version. We then get introduced to the inevitable teen-ish victims of the movie with military-bound brothers Eric and Dean and their girlfriends Chrissy and Bailey. Yes, it's a very similar vibe to the 2003 version. We're in the original TCM, but it works. The two main stars are Matt Bomer as Eric and Jordana Brewster as Chrissy. Brewster, who ended up meeting her husband in this film, is certainly known most for the Fast and Furious franchise, but she also showed up in her first role with 90s favorite The Faculty. Bomer, or Bomber, I know y'all are going to correct me anyway in the comments, is primarily a TV guy with huge parts in both Doom Patrol, a personal favorite, and White Collar. For other horror work, he also did both American Horror Story and its spin-off series American Horror Stories, that's plural. The movie has the same downer nihilism that embodied the movies of the late 60s and 70s. Nearly everyone dies. In fact, spoiler, everyone except the villainous family doesn't make it out of here. Thomas goes back to the slaughterhouse and kills the foreman, which sets the local sheriff on the case.
We got a situation on our hands here.
He goes and picks up the uncle named Charlie to help bring him in, but Charlie is crazy and also played by the late, great Arlie Ermey. Ermey was a standout in the 2003 film and damn near steals every scene he's in for this movie. He kills the sheriff, who is the equivalent of just 1 day from retirement, and takes his identity.
You really think you're something in that outfit, don't you?
The kids hit a cow, another wonderful special effect, and are picked up by the new Sheriff Hoyt. He gets pissed that they're draft dodgers, or at least one of them is based on the burned card, and he takes them in.
There ain't no fire in this accident. Which one of you boys' name is Dean Hill?
I am, sir. I'm Dean.
You didn't even buy anything, baby.
Yeah, it was.
Not to the station, mind you, but his house. Just his house. The last hour of the movie is pretty much non-stop torture for our heroes. Bomber is tied up for a lot of it, while Hoyt gives his younger brother the chance to prove himself with push-ups to earn his freedom.
Come on, sweetheart.
We had already seen that the family is now a group of cannibals.
Thanks to the good sheriff here, we ain't gonna go hungry tonight.
And you just know that's what they have in mind for the 4 kids. I mentioned Brewster and Bomber first because they were bigger names, but both Taylor Hanley, who plays Dean, and Deora Baird, who plays Bailey, do a wonderful job. Hanley did a bunch of TV before this movie and would continue that trend with large roles on both Vegas and Mayor of Kingstown. Baird, who Tyler would never forgive me if I didn't do a little bit of a deep dive, kicked off her career in earnest in Wedding Crashers before showing up in things like Accepted, the Night of the Demons remake, Best Horror Movie You Never Saw, Stan Helsing, and the 30 Days of Night sequel, which you may or may not have known existed. These kids really have no chance, as they can barely handle Hoyt, and that's before Tommy enters the picture and really becomes Leatherface as we know it.
Let's just go see if we caught anything.
As I said, it's Ermey's movie, and while he will forever be the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, his turn in these 2 Chainsaw movies, Seven and The Frighteners, will have horror fans in his debt for generations. The teens, or, teen-adjacent characters, start getting picked off one by one. Eric is strapped to a table and flayed before having a chainsaw go through his chest and his face made into the first Leatherface mask, while poor Bailey is basically trapped in the kitchen until she gets her throat slit as a mercy kill. The worst part of that is her teeth were removed before that, which must have been horrible. Even when a biker, played by Lee Tergesen, comes to the rescue.
What do you want, boy? Girl.
He's cut down, literally, before he can do anything. Anytime anyone in this movie has a chance, it's just as quickly taken away. Chrissy escapes and Dean finally wakes up before knocking the teeth out of Hoyt, literally. It's one of the many things we get to see that tie back to the sequel to this prequel. Of a particularly horrifying note is when Monty is shot in one of his legs, so Hoyt just has Leatherface cut both of them off. Chrissy escapes back to the slaughterhouse, and while Dean temporarily saves her, he's cut down, leaving only her. She escapes to a car, and just when you think she's getting away for good, Leatherface appears in the back seat and sticks the chainsaw through the seat and into her. She swerves into the police officer she was trying to get to, killing them and the person they'd pulled over. Leatherface gets out and walks back home. It works that this group is never mentioned again, in the 2003 movie or otherwise, because at the end of the day, they're just another group killed by the Hewitt family. Their stories ended there, and they didn't impact the family more than as food or nameless victims in the long run. The movie isn't the easiest physical release to come by, unfortunately, but it does stream from time to time. There's an unrated cut that is the preferred version, but it's not the end-all be-all if you can't find it. I remember seeing this in theaters first and then watching the unrated while working at Blockbuster, and truthfully, I couldn't tell the difference. Out of the 4+ timelines that this series follows, It's because of this movie that I watched them in a specific order. While nothing will beat the original in terms of style and influence, this is the rare movie in the middle of a franchise run that stands out for all the right reasons. You could watch this one, followed by either the 2003 or original, and then go from there. While there is sure to be other origin stories or tales told in the Texas Chainsaw universe, this is the beginning that everyone should start their journey with.
Get your popcorn, a Coke, and a blanket, cuz.
Blanket, come play!
It's time to deep dive into the sordid tale of the making of one of the wackiest entries in one of the wackiest horror franchises known to man. Today's film features a tale of a fantastic sounding James Wan-led 16mm horror trilogy that never was, a producer allegedly claiming a writer's work as his own, and some of the best ideas you've ever heard in your life turned into some of the worst. It's time to take a 3D look at all the questionable ingredients in this hot pile of Sawyer family chili.
I got a real good eye for prime meat. Runs in the family.
Because this is what the happened to Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Hey, you country
After two innovative forays into the Massacre franchise with the 2003 remake and the 2006 follow-up, The Beginning, Platinum Dunes and New Line Cinema decided to part ways on their licensing deal, effectively letting the rights revert to the original creators, Kim Henkel and Tobe Hooper. Seeing the chance to apply their low-budget, big return on investment Saw franchise model to another IP, Twisted Pictures, led by Mark Berg and Oren Kools, made a Dutch and Dylan handshake pact with Lionsgate to secure a multi-year deal with the franchise circa 2009.
You son of a bitch.
The story, written by the Grudge writer Steven Susko, was to pick up where had left off and continue with the Sawyer family right from Sally Hardesty screaming in the back of that pickup truck. The trilogy would be an ambitious requel shot in 16mm and possibly directed by James Wan. Lionsgate, however, came off the top rope of bad ideas like some awful version of Sting and completely ignored the original idea. They dictated that the film would need to be PG-13, modern, and in 3 dimensions.
Put it down!
The film we're speaking of today obviously landed somewhere in between. 3D, mostly modern, with an R rating. Susko even received a writing credit for his original ideas. But the original plans with Twisted Pictures were dead, and the tomfoolery didn't end there. You might say certain studio executives hadn't yet begun to defile themselves.
Nonsense. I've not yet begun to defile myself.
Jason Goes to Hell writer-director Adam Marcus and Deborah Sullivan were approached by what they called a shady producer involved with the project who wanted to come up with an idea for some chainsaw movies. According to the pair, they, having never read Susko's script, also thought it would be
What have you got there?
A map, reassembled piece by piece. Now that it's whole again, it's my hope that you'll be able to read it.
I have an idea or two, but only one way to find out. This is my best guess, and I'm not usually wrong. Shall we take a look? Just let me know.
Ah, it feels good to be out and about. detonation.
And ahoy.
Now then. Ah, another volume. I suppose we could get moving now. We could chat later, you know. Let's deal. Good day. Come back soon.
Be a cool idea to pick up where the first film left off and even incorporate some 3D into the transition from the original film to the present day. They say that the producer then took this 2-page outline and presented it to Lionsgate as his own original idea. Lionsgate, apparently unaware of this, then shopped it around to 17 different writers looking for pitches based on the treatment, including Marcus and Sullivan. The duo were then told they had to pitch Lionsgate for the right to write their own idea. Instead of crying foul, they walked in the pitch room with a full 15-page treatment and the opening act of the script already completed. They were hired a week later and would even be working with said shady producer.
So up.
Lionsgate and producer Carl Mazzacone were looking for a director to fancy up the famously gritty and bleak franchise. This led them to director John Lusenhop, who had just gotten off of directing 2010's Takers, a hip Chris Brown and Paul Walker-led heist film that opened a #1 at the box office and had that kind of sleek, cool look that the producers were going for in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Copy that, sir, but chainsaw don't make you bulletproof.
Not exactly the kind of movie that you want that for. They would also find their Leatherface in an unlikely place. Dan Yeager had almost no acting or stunt experience to speak of, but had been friends with the aforementioned Mazzacone, working with him on several home construction projects. He invited him to a party where the 6'6" Yeager caught the eye of Lusenhop, who had been captivated by his size and face. He was basically cast on the spot to play Leatherface, apart from the opening scene at least, which stars actor Sam McKenzie as the character. Looking to appeal to a modern audience, the production cast their sights towards their victims and heroines. One of the best casting choices, the unforgettable Alexandra Daddario, takes the role of final girl Heather Miller, who was kidnapped as a baby in 1973, and is somehow only in her 20s in the year 2012, where she would actually be in her 40s. Ah, don't worry about it, just shut up and eat your popcorn. Look, a 3D chainsaw! None of this is Daddario's fault, as she's game for all the film asked her to do, including hanging oh so close to topless from a hook for a substantial amount of screen time, and reading lines like this.
Do your thing, cuz.
Come on!
Everyone knows stunt casting a musician into a major role in a slasher horror franchise works 100% of the time, every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Just look at the universally beloved Busta Rhymes character Freddy from Halloween Resurrection, Michael's true rival.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
This leads us to the casting of Tremaine Trey Songz Neverson as Heather's cheating but sad about it boyfriend Ryan, along with some of his music. Scott Eastwood was brought onto the project in what the studio hoped would be a recurring role in sequels as Deputy Carl Hartman.
You should feel right at home in this nasty place. Your family used to work this shithole.
And who can forget Tanya Raymond as the handsy Nikki? Hey, there's no severed head under this bucket. This is just tequila and daddy issues.
Daddy wasn't there.
The cast also included Sean Sipos as Timu Cliff Booth, a hitchhiker who apparently knows a pawn shop guy who really loves cutlery. While the intent was clearly to bring in the cool kids and modernize the bejesus out of this backwoods grindhouse murder sequel, the production did go through major efforts to include cast members of the original classic. This included original Leatherface Gunnar Hansen, and a cameo as Boss Sawyer, the original Sally Hardesty, Marilyn Burns as Sawyer matriarch Verna Carson, Bill Moseley in the role of the cook, and even John Dugan returning as Grandpa Sawyer. OG Leatherface Hansen had previously rejected multiple offers to return to the franchise, but came back for this role because he really enjoyed the idea of a direct sequel to the original film, and because he appreciated that they were finally paying him what he felt his time was worth. For what it is worth, the opening act of Texas Chainsaw 3D seems to have come from the best of intentions and ideas, despite the understandable issues many have with the execution, and of what follows afterwards. It's also worth noting that much of the script's issues weren't to blame on the original writers, as Marcus and Sullivan
And we cannot stop them or break them. If you come to this place and have any idea how to destroy them, please do. Hamakai, chieftain of the Tupuhama tribe.
Recall, backed up by a journalist who read the original script themselves, their characters weren't cardboard cutout 20-somethings who cheat on each other and make dumb hitchhiker decisions.
Bert, wish I had a swing like that in my backyard.
Yeah, that's something, all right.
The cast in the original script were said to be a likable bunch who genuinely cared for one another and had layered personalities. Their script also featured a far gorier movie from top to bottom. They wanted to use the 3D to their advantage, having the guts and gore flying onto the audience. They also wanted some of the penultimate face-offs to feature more villainous townsfolk for Leatherface to tear through. and even featured a scene where Leatherface was on the chase, dead smack in the middle of a running herd of cattle, which sounds kinda rad. A sequence involving him dispatching 4 police officers in the pitch black of a store was replaced by the nonsensical FaceTime scene, due to the producers wanting some smartphone stuff in the film. Again, pointing to the fact that this damn timeline makes no sense whatsoever.
I don't feel that I need to explain my art to you, Warren.
One more thing that's important to note is that Marcus claims that Texas Chainsaw 3D's reported $20 million budget was actually cut down to just $8 million because Lionsgate decided to only cover the distribution of the film. It's messier than a Sawyer family Christmas on ice.
You did it now, boy!
In hell. Filming finally officially began in June of 2011 in Shreveport, Louisiana, and in pure Texas Chainsaw fashion, it was a grueling shoot for everyone involved. A tight shooting schedule, 100-degree plus temperatures, and the difficulties of shooting in 3D would take its toll. Many of the crew were learning on the fly, and at one point even had to recruit writer Adam Marcus to learn and handle the second unit stereographer role. The legendary K&B Effects group, led by The Walking Dead's Greg Nicotero, were brought on to handle the masks and the gore. Even with the gore cuts to the script, the original cut of Texas Chainsaw 3D was so gnarly that it actually received the then dreaded NC-17 rating from the MPAA. Multiple graphic death scenes had to be trimmed down to secure an R rating. But thankfully, as had been customary in the mid-2000s, they were able to release an unrated cut on home video with all the gory fixins. While the Leatherface look felt off for much of the film, you have to give credit where it's due. Specifically a moment in which we get to see Leatherface slowly stitch a severed face to his own, using a probably not disinfected needle through his own cheeks. Owie. The opening of any Texas Chainsaw film is all too important to setting the tone, and 3D was no different. They meticulously recreated the interior of the original Sawyer house and used footage from the 1974 original, digitally converting it into 3D and blending it with the new footage shot on a soundstage in Louisiana. To bring the Sawyer house down in a fiery blaze, a mix of large-scale practical miniature and CGI were used. All I can think about personally is what a Sawyer family home would smell like burning down in the 100+ degree heat. It'd be like deep sniffing Rob Zombie's brain at the bottom of a dumpster in the parking lot of a questionable Arby's. One location in Texas Chainsaw 3D takes place in the Carson Mansion, an actual historic home in Mansfield, Louisiana. According to Alexandra Daddario, the house was believed to be haunted. A crew member at one point actually broke down in tears, refusing to enter the house, claiming a female ghost was standing in the corner telling her to get out. The crew member then had to literally leave the set and was unable to come back to work. Later that day, the owner of the home revealed to everyone that his wife had passed away in that very same room. Also haunting is that whatever the true budget was, most of the cash went to filming in native 3D with dual camera Red Epic rigs, as well as massive lighting setups to accommodate. The cameras themselves were fairly new technology, as they had only been used to film The Amazing Spider-Man and The Hobbit at that point. As the shooting schedule neared its end, the filmmakers realized that they were terribly behind. Because the 3D rigs required constant calibration and tethering that slowed down the shots, they couldn't work faster, but had to work longer. The production eventually worked in revolving teams of crew members working 24 hours at a time.
Who the f are you to put me on trial? I've never even met you.
The writers were even kept on set for sometimes 20 hours a clip to help with an ever-changing script, as scenes were being shortened on the fly in an attempt to save time. Just your average Texas Chainsaw Massacre production nightmare.
Welcome to Texas, motherfucker!
When all was said and done and the questionable meat chili was cooked, Texas Chainsaw 3D released wide in the wonderful movie month of January 2013. The film came in #1 on its opening weekend and raked in over $21 million en route to a haul of more than $47 million worldwide. Not bad for a January horror release with as many pratfalls as Chainsaw 3D had to deal with, which is truly a testament to the staying power of Leatherface, as well as the reinvigoration of the franchise provided by the 2003 remake a decade prior. Critically, the film took more of a beating than Leatherface at an angry dermatologist's office, with critics fairly blasting the plot holes, time inconsistencies, dumb character decisions, and, as one critic put it, embarrassing a horror icon.
Sweaty pie! ¿Cómo se llama? No! Kelly Clarkson!
The money was enough to keep the franchise alive and into 2017 and beyond with the self-titled prequel Leatherface, which, despite its issues, kind of makes you thankful for Texas Chainsaw 3D. I'd rather watch this movie 3 times in a row while beaten with a broomstick than have to watch Leatherface again.
Chop that wood. Yeah, that's it. Ow! You're sick!
While we're being thankful, it's worth mentioning that this little ditty features some well-written action set pieces, even if they aren't always executed to perfection. There's Leatherface attacking a carnival and hurling a chainsaw at the audience, en route to chasing Heather up a Ferris wheel, Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop 3 style.
Are you all right? Yeah, I'm okay. Just don't let go.
The pulse racing attack on the 20-somethings in the overturned vehicle, and some gnarly kills peppered throughout. And hey, at least we can honestly say that we have a bona fide 3D entry in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It might not be what anyone asked for, but it's exactly what the happened to Texas Chainsaw 3D. Let me know if you've heard this one before. This movie was supposed to launch an entire franchise. We're talking up to 6 films. There's just one problem. The studio didn't actually have the rights to make a sequel. It got pushed, delayed, and eventually shelved for years, with no clear explanation. And when it finally saw the light of day, it barely made anything back, and left fans completely divided. Somewhere along the way, this origin story turned into an identity mystery, where even the filmmakers seemed more interested in the idea of Leatherface than the character himself. So how does something like that even happen? And how do you take one of horror's most iconic figures and completely lose the plot before the movie even begins? What legendary horror name got their final producing credit on this film? How many movies were originally supposed to be part of Lionsgate's ill-fated Texas Chainsaw reboot? I'll rev up those chainsaws one last time as we find out what the happened to Leatherface.
Nobody messes with our family.
Even though it's called Leatherface, the 2017 horror movie about the first family of Texas massacres involving chainsaws is about as far removed from the original film as you can get. And it's an origin story. Again.
Here we go again. Again.
While its quality as a horror film and franchise entry is up for debate, the story behind its production is genuinely interesting. To understand how this movie even made it to release, we have to go back to January 2007. That's when Platinum Dunes announced that they were finishing making Texas Chainsaw Massacre films after the release of Jonathan Liebesman's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. The movie had been profitable, but the studio decided not to make a third entry. The rights were soon to be picked up by Lionsgate, which planned an entirely new run of films. Originally, the studio envisioned a trilogy with possible involvement with James Wan.
You take one of mine, and I'll take all yours, Verna.
Later, it was even claimed that they had rights for as many as 6 movies. Sadly for Lionsgate, but maybe not so sadly for audiences, those plans would never fully materialize.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
And that really sums up the biggest issue with this entire era of Texas Chainsaw.
What you need?
My boy, I knew. It's been. I don't care about. Just leave
Empty,
me.
you know.
Perhaps if you can runesmith the Varizi, I can go and see.
Of course. Newcomer, get the Verizium.
Farewell.
Aye.
Quickly.
Freya Heartland's still around and trapped on Journey's End? How?
Time is of the essence.
Reclast has always been full of surprises. So be it. There we go. That should. What can I do?
Renly's craftsmanship. Intriguing.
Here's your gold. No harm, farewell.
Time to free this unfortunate soul.
What's going on?
Finally free.
Come out of here.
It was only a matter of time. Someone like you played the hero.
So,
I hope you enjoy my parting gift. I'll see you soon.
I fear I've made a grave error.
We've arrived.
What's good?
Good day.
I should have known some in my younger days. I'd never been.
That being.
Aye. Nonetheless, the fog is, as promised.
you bugger off.
You speak with... What is the...
None of your business. Why you bugger off.
You speak... What is the...
None of your business. Makoru's got something to prove. You won't go wrong. She's been underestimated.
Karui.
Aye, she's left. I'm fond of the Karui. Not just talk. They live the way us cold. They're wild.
Why?
Oh, you know how it. The younger ones get eyed. The Karui passionately follow what they... I should have known that wasn't... Whatever it may have been, it gives me...
That is a being of supreme power.
Tell it to the skulls, will ya? Bugger off.
It is what it is.
It's unnatural. Like a bloody curse. Yet at any moment, some almighty being could appear. Like I said...
The dream. Learn to trust.
Yeah. In the 20 years we've been here, you know how I get through it? You should try it sometime. Now that there's a good man. Aspiring.
What makes this
His conviction. He could change the world. It's quite the worry. It's just not like her to disagree. I've seen her a lot more, but she's not one to be tied. No.
If I see her...
Please do. Now, there, me and him. Next thing in hand. Here we
You chose.
I'm just now realising time really is.
Live your life.
Stranger things have happened. Well, you met the chieftain.
He knows his place.
On one hand, he's fostering. On the other... You're telling me? He's fairly new in town. I heard he had too many modern... He seems capable enough.
Tabakai values.
That's right. Best not to cross him. What you need?
Do you respect the...
Well,
Makoru reject. Of course they would.
Reject is a strong... She forged... I admire. The next time.
BRB. BRB.
films.
Dobro jutro. Kako ste?
O, dobro jutro, dobro jutro.
Dobro jutro.
Evo, poluumorno.
A, to iz noćne smjene.
Ma da, iz noćne smene, pa čekam Dušicu da dođe. Idem da kupim neku klopu i onda idem s ovim, zvao sam ovog starijeg sina juče i Dušica je rekla njenom sinu, odemo malo da se okupamo jedno 2 sata, jebi ga ovde imamo i neku naše male jezerce i da napravimo neki roštilj. I onda, bravo, dođem kući da se odmorim ko čovek danom, onda sam danas i sutra slobodan. A hteo sam malo s klincima da izađemo čisto, eto. I evo te pola je već ono kad pogledaš doviđenja. Da kažem pola. Neće da izađemo nigde do kraja, evo. Posle meni kad dođe zima, brale, ono, znači, ono, okej, kući sam, deću, onu kijameti. Ali jebi ga. Leti volim malo da mrdnem. Ovo bre nigde čoveče da el su velike vrućine, nigde ne izlaziš. I do kurca. Malo po malo, ono. 6. jul. Jun ode, evo ti ga je pola jula. Ode avgust i ode sve u kurac posle. I ovo nanovo. Old school.
Jeste.
Jebote, ja sam čovek
profesionalac, da.
Jeste. Već sam oko 43. tira
Znam.
u sezoni, da. A 70 ih ima. Mislim, ima ih 100, ali 70 koji su ono premium i koje kad otvoriš...
DVD pričamo.
Da, jeste. I vratiš sve bukvalno uložene pare i ostalo.
A.
Pa jebi ga, dosta su se questova već otvorili, jer to inače funkcioniše kad ti krene sezona prvih nedelju dana. Imaš određene questove, pa drugu nedelju ti se otvara nove, ali premda je sad uglavnom sve otvoreno, jer je valjda nekih 2 nedelje pred kraj. Mislim da ću da otvorim bez problema sve. I možda uzem Jasona da ga probam, interesantan je. Deluje mi ono bad ass. Imam in-game valutu, mislim ja 1250 onih njihovih premium tokena. To kad kupiš za pare, onda ti daju te, znaš. I 1000 ti košta season pass, da kažem, koji uvek vratiš, znaš, i bitno jednom da ga uzmeš i onda kada ga vrtiš, vraćaš uvek pare, ono, refundiraš sve kroz sam season pass, s tim da brdo kozmetiki uzmeš, eto, onako, gratis, banere, badge, ona, sranja i tako dalje.
Kapiram.
Povratiš lovu i naravno licenciran lik ti je 500, odnosno 5 evrića, to ti dođe u prevodu 5 evra. 500 kako se zove ovih njihovih tih čardova. Da.
Če najkola nesretna.
Unlucky shark.
A bit će nesrećna kad ga izdolećem.
Ajkulice.
Ajkula Drakula. Mjau.
Gdje je Drakula usta ga jebem, jel dolazi? Nisam ga vidio baš odavno. Nema ga. Ako mi on kaže da je povukao 20 čoveka sa sobom, jebaću ga usta, znači.
Odneće sve.
Pa da. Kako ste vi, gospodine Frostoviću, s vremenom danas, sutra? Danas i sutra uglavnom, pošto sam slobodan ja.
Ako me vidite popodne, tu sam.
Ako me se sete se.
Mislim da sam bio vrlo direktor.
Jest, bili ste.
Mislim da nisam bio bezobrazan.
Pa čekaj, je li moguće ili je da još postoji to stalkovanje?
Juče sam s kumom pričao. Sjećaš se onoga lika, onaj Lord Vas?
Dobro, znam,
Kad igrao s
naravno.
nama 7 Days to Die, čovjek je uzeo da čituje u single player igri. I počeo da nam objašnjava kako on neće da se muči, on se u životu napatio. Ja rekao, čemu ti pričaš? Igramo single player igru, kao u co-opu, protiv PvE. I ti čituješ. Zašto to radiš? Pa meni je kao teško u životu, ja... Šta je s tobom, jebote? Što je način fora, njegova cura igrala s nama, znaš, isto.
Da, ona igra s njim uglavnom, da, kapiram.
I ona kao, pa ja mu ne mogu ništa, kaže on. Ja rekao, dobro, u redu je sve, znaš. I juče ja i kum pričamo o njemu, evo rabote, joinuju se. I folira se da je neki lik iz Švedske, ja rekao, to je on 100%. Ja rekao, drugi lik. Ma nismo pričali njemu 3 minuta, znaš. Eno ga joinovao se kod nas na sesiji. Ja rekao, šta je ovo? Nemam samo jednog tajnog obožavaoca, ima ih više. O, mati moje.
Kaos.
Kako se zove onaj?
Znaš ono, dok smo igrali, bre Bože, igrali smo Outlast, znaš.
Tras.
On s nama, pa taj, pa znam. Ali dobra igra, brate, okej, skroz.
Ne znam, postavljam mu pitanje sve što igra, znaš. Već sam ga pitao par puta kako znaš gdje je šta na mapi. On kaže igrao sam.
Izvini, sad moram da te prekinem kao i po običaju što te prekidam, ali...
Slobodno.
Da, znam. Bukvalno znači, meni kad je teško, barem pošteno, ja kažem, brate, ej, nije to za mene, znaš. Neću igram, nije to za mene i ćao. A ne sad nešto da se kurčim, da bi čitao u toj igri, da bi ja, jel te, ne znam, šta.
Ne znam, bio faca. Šta ja znam.
Ma daj, čoče. Igram bre da se opustim, da mi bude okej. Šta god da je to.
Ja volim ljude koji prečicom do cilja.
Pa pazi, u ljudskoj prirodi da ljudi idu linijom manjeg otpora.
Jedina prečica do cilja ti je po meni kad uzmeš motornu pilu i presečeš...
Pilu, to.
15-20 metara drva, znaš. Kakva prečica. Ne, više volim da 5 dana jebeno sa ručnom testerom šegam, jer to je muški posao i to me ispunjava. Imam neograničeno slobodnog jebenog vremena, znaš. Da nemam električne energije i fosilnih goriva, razumeš, pa da čovjek razume, nemamo izbora, moramo ručno. Pošto svega toga ima trenutno, znači ne vidim zašto bi sebi život komplikovao bez potrebe, samo za to. Nema potrebe. To su neke prečice koje ja smatram. Ili zašto da hodam do sljedećeg grada koji je 200 km peške ili na konju ako mogu recimo da platim prevoz, ako imam opciju da uzem, ne znam, voz, tramvaj, helikoptere, znaš, ne bitno. To su neke prečice s kojima mogu da živim, a sve ostalo ne baš. Kad su pitanje stvari koje su relaksirajući za koje ti ne treba prečica, prečica bi ti bila zašto bi igrao event u DBD-u kad bi mogao recimo da platiš 20 € da sve ključava. U tom trenutku shvatiš da ne moraš više ni da igraš, već si platio i sve je ključano i zašto sad da išta radiš, nema potrebe, sve je ključano.
Da.
Imaš igre, verovati, ili negde možeš da kupiš kao taj čitav Battle Pass, kozmetiku, kako hoćeš, seasonal quest. Možeš sve da otključavaš za pare. Kažem, nisam siguran zašto. Kakva logika ljudi, razumeš, koji odreše kesu za to.
Pa evo ti i Toma, ili kupio blueprintove, brate, idi bre u kurac.
Zato što ne mogu da ih nađe. Razumeo bi da poznaje nekoga.
Igra i gotovo.
Ne, da poznaje nekoga i da taj neko ima. Ja sam Rumunu dao 5-6 komada sam mu dao. On je rekao da će da mi nađe ako bude mogao onaj za divnu bombu. Sad, nisam ga cimao previše oko toga, bilo ako nađe. Ali nisam kupovao, to je više oko po dogovoru.
Više nas, brale, kad igra, znači, nađi se i damo jedni drugima. Nema potrebe na takve stvari da se puca kinta, mislim, zaista. Mislim, hoću ti kažem, kad igra već 5-6 ljudi, znaš, nije 2 čoveka, 5-6. I onda jebote ću da kupujem, boli me dupe. Nađem da ću nekom Makić, ti, Dare, ko je sve tad bio još aktivan što se Raidersa tiče, brate. Pa daš čoveku, šta ću joj prodam, boli me kurac.
Ne znam, ja kažem to gubio obraz za ništa.
Summer sale, još samo danas i sutra.
Sve super, ali ja ne vidim ništa. Jedino što sam video je Borderlands 4 i onda pročitam da čovjek koji ima mašinu koja je skuplja od moje bar još 500.000 evra, da također, razumeš, nema dobre performanse, igra mu radi, kaže, kao krep. Kao pozvano, mogli biste da poradite malo na optimizaciji igre. Umjesto da jedete govna kako pravi fanovi Borderlanda 4, kao njima neće biti neprijatno kao plate, njima će kao biti kao čast kao da plate, razumeš, jebenih, koliko je bilo $70 kad ideš ili tako nešto, ili jač, $70 je bilo, neka nebuložna cifra, baš. Će mi biti čast.
Ma da, nisu normalni, brate, šta da kažem.
I bio je sad na sale ispod $30. Ja razmišljao, rekao, ajde možda pređem single player, samo radi toga. Ma kaki, ljudi koji su kupili igru po punoj ceni pa kažu da je sranje, kamoli za sale. Kaže samo na sale-u i to kaže tu oko $5, kaže plafon.
Yes, da. Nisu normalni.
Dođi, Ajkulo.
Dođi, Ajkulo, dođi vamo. Library.
Cannot liberate with this broken arrow.
Nomadic.
Što za to?
Envoy and no free loadout survey. Nešto survey. Nešto vidim...
Da ti objasnim ovako. U zadnjem updateu stavili su da određeni eventi uopšte ne možeš da uđeš u njih ako imaš freeloader. Znači moraš da poneseš gear. Ne svi, ali ne znam, night raid, određene operacije, moraš da poneseš nešto, ne možeš da poneseš ništa, da odeš free i da ubiješ čoveka koji, razumeš, uložio vreme i trud i opremu, razumeš, da ga ubiješ s leđa. Mislim, možda ga ubiješ s leđa, ali moraš da poneseš sredstva za to, uz rizik da, naravno, ne vratiš ništa, što je pošteno. Ako ja rizikujem, razumeš, kad uđem, hoću i da i ti rizikuješ isto.
Pa pošteno. Ako idemo na rizik, idemo s visine, pa izvolite.
A ne da kao kurvica klikneš, razumeš, na onaj free gear, da bi, razumeš, tamo neki pacovski mitarezi, razumeš, s njim ne možeš da ubiješ nijednog arka. S onim glupim mitarezima.
Da, ma ljudi to rade, bukvalno ulaze, evo, prvi Dexter. Prvi Dexter uđe s free, ma on čovjek uđe bez ičega, čovječe, izađe pun. Budala, bre.
To mogu ja da uđem bez išta, nije to
problem. Pa to ti kažem, bukvalno ne poneseš oružje i polako. Mam, ludo. Ludo, ljudi, ludo. Ne znam se ko je veći budala tijelom, mada on je baš sad obansu. Iz one Diversa da gledam 10 čovjek veći naš.
Igrali smo, mislim, 10 u čitavu kampanju.
Pa igrali smo, znam da smo
igrali. Ništa posebno. Zavisi koju operaciju igraš i koji je tip misije. Nekad su...
Im kad igraš samo supply pack da nosiš i to je to.
Jeste, a za sebe. Pošto od njega nešto dobiti.
A za sebe, brate, za sebe. To ti kažem, jer ostalo je piši propalo. Pac-Man je u igri. Samo... Gotovo. Užvaći ono što pozove, odmah. Gotovo. Moram da vidim s njim kako je on danas vremena, možda malo se zajebao. Zašto? Jer zašto da ne? Da tako?
Ko bi mi neko rekao zašto?
Jer smo tako u mogućnosti. Ide gas.
Čega svetlo? Nema šta da kažeš da ti ugasi sijelicu. Devisi.
On the night of the full moon, one among us vanished. When the second month passed, and another of our number vanished on the full moon, concern began to arise. The statues,
Ide gas, sine, ide gas.
screaming, terrified, they are crying out, silent, unmoving, about some danger behind me. I am fearful, but when I turn, there is nothing there.
Napreduje, ali ima da rodi mečku dok ovo uradim. Čini koji sam rip u bičku u materinu. Rip fast, bitch. What? Pa dobro sam. Gazim 45-u, brate, super.
To kao godinu života, šta?
Ma godinu života gazim 47-u,
Ne, nisam.
U ripu sam 45-u.
To je šala bilo.
Šala mala. Ide gas.
Tako je. Nema Nenada, ne čuje se. Znači...
Nenad je isto na putu izgnanstva, brale.
Jeste.
On je izgubljen u svemiru, on je na beta kentauru.
On se isključi mentalno, razumeš, da ga nameta
Da.
ništa dok igra. To ne mogu da
Izgnu
razumijem.
se sam. Na putu izgnanstva.
Ja mogu to da uradim, ali tipa treba mi 60 sekundi tišine, ne treba mi 2 sata, razumeš, da koncentracije. Ako je neki zajeban boss fight gde moram da pazim, gde hodam, kažem, do 36 sekundi mi treba da ga ili koknem ili da me kokne i to je to. A on, njemu treba apsolutno najmena koncentracija.
Michaela Reed, Dwight, Cheryl Mason i Kwon Ti-Jung. Kwon Ti-Jung. Sad da vidimo protiv koga killera ćemo da se susretnemo ovega puta. Kad sam vidio Sinobajta pre 2 dana da je igrao protiv nas, toliko sam se oduševio da je stvarno ulepšao mi čovjek dan.
Što? Skoro ga niko nikad ne bio?
Pa redko, da, redko i sad pogotovo što je izgubio licencu i ono, znaš. Ili je beše free ili je nedostupan uopšte više u storu, koji uz Uzuga i ima ga sve okej. I ono, redko ko igra s njim, brate, ono, znači kad sam vidio, oduševio sam se, vratio, rekao super, majke.
Pa mogu da igraju stari igrači, razumeš?
Dobar je, brate, killer, ne znam što su ga bendovali, brate, ono.
Licencu za pare. Ti misliš na community, a ne na developera, a?
Ma na community te, bre.
Pa... zato što ljudi vole da pobede. Tome se radi. Sam ja dobro shvatio svakim killerom možeš da pobediš. Samo je pitanje koliko neki su lakši, neki teži za igranje.
Ide gas. Gledaj, brate, ko je ovo killer? Ček, ko beše? Jo, Legion, brate, Legija, krv ti jebem da ti jebem, Legija.
Čuješ onu muziku, a?
Pa da.
Ona disco muzika.
Što je okej, ma nije, ne taj lik. Taj lik ti je ono, Trickster, a Legion ti je drugi lik.
Ne K-pop muziku. Imaš da equipaš kako se zove onaj Frank mixtape. Onda se promeni muzika u chase-u kad igraš kao Legion. Dobro sećam.
Ono, menduje ti, ono, mora da se menduješ, brate, non stop te recka. Gubiš jebeno vreme i onda si naravno...
Zaleti da se ubode pod dnom noža.
Dosadni su kao proliv, ovaj lig je jebeno dosadan lig. O ne. Oh ne. Bravo. Nekomu izlupu paletu u glavu.
Si bio za leto.
Najjači smo. Uff. One survivor is down. I repeat. One survivor is down. Oh, brate, exposed. Sjebu sam se. Ima Star Struck, brate, sjebu sam se.
Šta je Star Struck?
Ma, brate, kad podigne lika, ono, bukvalno si, ono, expose status imaš dok god nosi Survivora. Što znači, jedan udarac down si, bukvalno, jedan ako ti šikne.
Ako nosi nekoga i ti priđeš, on te samo bocne i padaš.
Bravo. Oh shit. Nije me vidio. I sad pazi, čak još jedan perk ima, ali ako nađem onaj kurac da skinem taj njegov perk, kad zakače isto Survivor imaš expose 30 ili 60 sekundi, jebeno u pičku materinu. Evo ova trčka za mnom, ajde trčka i mame ti ga nabijem nesrećne.
Zar nema 3-4 varijante toga killera?
Pa imaš i muško i žensko, ali generalno sve zavisi od perkova. Main power mu je isti, da li si muško ili žensko, isti ti kurac, apsolutno ono.
I see.
Oh my god. Evo opet, exposed, imam. Sjebo sam se. Sjebo sam se samo tako.
Ko te expozuo?
Gotov sam, sad ćemo usporiti. Pičku materinu. Jel na ovom inventu ima svaki killer baciti otrov koji krene da deluje poslije 5-6 sekundi, toliko te znači nerfuje što se brzine tiče, toliko te uspori i sjebete. Ima neke fore, mi smo dobili, postavljamo neke stolove, razumeš, pičke, lepe materine.
Tortilje neke stavljate na stol.
Ma svašta nešto, znači ruka u tanjiru i te fore i onda znači kad postavimo sto otvaraju nam se portali, znaš. I kad pojedem određenu hranu ili dobiješ ili si nevidljiv na 3-4 sekunde, znaš, pobegneš killeru ili ne znam, ima dosta nekih efekata, razumeš. Interesantno je, jevi ga. Pa da. 100 pičkih materina ima. Interesantan event, jevi ga. Šta da kažem drugo. Very interesting. Oh shit, killer on our ass. Oh motherfucker.
Not so fast. I know who will have an idea. Farewell.
This isn't the
Hail. Let's equip you for the journey.
I cepi me. I cepi me, semenke mu jebem. Iha! Ide goes!
Te skinu neko s huku.
Ma, drka me legija. Aj jebi.
Pa ako kažeš legija, ja setim onoga našeg nesretnika.
To ljubim te, brate, u bulju, spaso me jedan flashlightom, kralj! Fuck you, nigga! Yeah! Ne, opet me otrovo, krv mu jebem!
Tako je.
Pa gotov sam. Motherfucker! Motherfucker! Sjebo sam se. Sjebo sam se jako. Brate. Oprem, pičko. Motherfucker. Evo, opet imamo, da, ima taj Star Struck. Dobru kombinaciju Legija je napravio dobar build. Sviđa mi se. Jebe nas. Dupence nam ono. U rascepu totalno. Evo, ja imam second hook. Plus ima perk da može da me drži, to traper ima izvorni perk. Grab neki, znači kad te uhvati, brate, nosite do pola mape, ne možeš da se ono... Jedan je pokušao da me sejvuje, ali... Och, Bože, pomozi mi još ovog puta. Se kaže, sad me spasite. Sad me spasite. Let's go, man. To. Ajde. Oh, shit. Shit, man. Shit, man. Lele, evo opet. Jebe nas kao majmune nas jebe. Kao jebene majmune nas jebe, brate moj. Motherfucker. Pa sjebali smo se, nema ništa. Beži! Oprem! Ma u te bre. Oh my god. Baš bi mi bio gušt da mu skinem barem jedan totem. Mamicu mu jebem nesrećnu. Samo jedan. Da mu ugasim. Jebem ti Star Struck da ti jebem. A da možda i on i aktivan, nije ono pasivan. Ali vidit ćemo. Možda ne vidim toteme, mamu mu jebem da mu jebem. O, ja sam idiot. Aj, jebem mu mater. Oh shit. Oh shit. I'm going to shit in my pants right now. Fuck you, man.
Pick the rounds full. Wrong house full.
I'm down, man. Let's go, man. Scuzzo, man. Ide ga.
Tako.
Ide nafta ga, sine. Lele, nevidljiv sam čovječe.
Ne, vidio sam, to je među jačim buffovima. Ali postoji način da te killer vidi. Mislim da
Ne.
kad te pogodi otrovom, da kad te pogodi otrovom ostaje malo zelenog kao oblaka. Iako si kao nevidljiv.
Ludilo. Ma cool je event, sviđa mi se ono.
Zavisi koga killera pitaš. Nisu svi dobri za taj event.
A jebi ga. O, pide gas. Mora kaže da se mendujem. Da se mendujem.
Gotta mend my wounds.
Baš to. Oh shit, man. Man. Shit, man. Moram da mendujem moje rane. Da mendujem moje rane.
Tako.
Oh man. Oh man. Come on, man. Ide gas. Znao sam da će se prevariti, brate. Jer ja u stvari nisam Deda Mraz.
Nisi. Se izvinjam.
Mogu je killer da nas usere, ali igramo se.
Welcome to the fort. I've forged a few fineries. I'll melt it down. Find a use.
Hit mora sell. Nećemo da hitujemo. To. Ide gas.
I'll melt it down. Find the use. Go make some legends.
Ove mušice će usta da mi uđe, usta jebem.
Aha. I believe I can fly. Sjećaš ti te pesme? I believe I can touch the sky.
U Buljsona ih kojem. Mora se mendujemo.
Meno moja rana ljut. Evo vrijeme postoji.
Ide gas! Ide gas! Ide gas, sine! Vozi Miško! Ide gas! Jebem ti otrov, ti jebem. Jebem ti otrov, ti jebem.
Ne možete vi samo da imate buff, mora i on da ima nešto.
Pa ima, jebi ga. Interesantno. Al, ono, igra se s nama, bukvalno. Ja i još jedan nesrećni kućkin sin. A jebi ga! Come on, man. Thanks, man. Oh, man. Podiže me čovjek.
Killer.
Ma ne bre, moj saigrač ne može killer da te podigne.
Može, na kuku.
Killer se, pa na kukicu može, da.
Na kuku te podigne i onda se koprcaš nogicom.
Come on, man.
Ne se kecaš killeri, si čuo?
Sve će izginemo. Svi će, kaže, da izginemo u vodu. Izmendovo sam se i šta sad? Jebe nas killer samo tako, brate.
Sad možete da... U paketu sa Tešanu.
Motherfucker. I'm kaže down, mister. I'm down, mister. Come on, man. Ima da nas su mrtvi totalno. Kaže, Tebrex blidujem. Blidujem. Če iskrvarim bre saigrače? Trčkaj, ću da spustim dušu na paćenu, te bre.
Zar ne može da te zakrpi nekako?
Može, ali gotovo, evo blidujem. Imaš konstantno blid, kad ti to sve iscuri, laku noć.
A to ti je broken state ili šta?
Nešto, da. Ja sam čovjek lud totalno.
Cadogan III is dead. Long live Cadogan IV. Puritanical imbeciles like Utrecht were placated by the late king's banner by sheriffs. Fools. Their deluded righteousness would condemn us all. Cadogan III is dead. Long live Cadogan IV.
Ovo je otrovan žestoko lik.
Puritanical imbeciles like Utrecht were placated by the late king's banner of the gems. Fools. Their deluded righteousness would condemn us all. Though I only know the fourth through his missives, his superior wisdom is evident. He understands that to survive, we must use it.
There wasn't a clear creative direction. It was just a constant attempt to keep the franchise alive while figuring things out as they went.
You are still hillbilly trash.
One movie would ignore the last, timelines would shift, and continuity became more of a suggestion than a rule.
Here, your pants. Supper's on the table.
For longtime fans, it made the series feel increasingly disconnected, and for new audiences, it was hard to even know where this story fit in. Leatherface wasn't just trying to tell an origin story. It was trying to reset everything, without fully committing to what that reset actually meant. The first film under the deal was Texas Chainsaw 3D, which moved from an October 2012 release to January 2013, but still performed moderately well. With that success, Millennium Films and Lionsgate began developing a follow-up tentatively titled Texas Chainsaw 4. The plan was to shoot in Louisiana sometime in 2013 to give the production a more authentic Southern feel. Millennium chairman Avi Lerner was ready to move forward and claimed the project had been brought to him by Laddie Grobman and actress-turned-producer Krista Campbell, both of whom had worked as executive producers on the previous film. There was just one problem. Whether it was mixed up paperwork, cross wires, or simply jumping the gun, they didn't actually have authorization to make a sequel. Executive producer Mark Berg, who had been developing the script with John Lusenhop and Carl Mazzacone, later explained that, despite what Millennium believed, the rights were actually controlled by Mazzacone and Mainline Pictures. A direct sequel was off the table. But that didn't mean a new movie was dead in the water. Instead, the idea of a prequel was pitched to the studio by writer and producer Seth M. Sherwood, who would later serve as an uncredited writer on the Gerard Butler action film London Has Fallen and the horror video game The Devil in Me. Sherwood had grown frustrated with the messy continuity the franchise had built over the years, and about identity and transformation.
Crying over a stupid dead little girl.
Drawing on statements by original creators Toby Hooper and Gunnar Hansen, Sherwood focused the idea that the character behind the mask was essentially a blank slate. Hansen himself had once suggested that there was nothing really behind the mask at all, and that whatever face the character wore helped shape his personality. Sherwood's story aimed to explore how that transformation might happen. Another key idea was that the character would not be born with a mental disability, but instead experience a traumatic event that gradually pushed him towards madness. On August 13th, 2014, Sherwood was officially announced as the writer. A couple of months later, on Halloween, a directing team was revealed. French filmmakers Alexandre Bustillo and Julien Maury, known for their brutal 2007 horror home invasion film Inside, were hired to direct. Hollywood had already seen success with French horror directors making the jump to America.
Trebao sam da uzem Nicolasa Cage-a. Sad će vidimo, ne znam. Ne, ovo je Survivor. Ja igram sa Survivorima. Alucard, what is your business here?
Baš kao NPC ili samo skin za nekog od karaktera?
Skin. To je skin od gospodina Belmonta Richtera. Njega imamo,
Belmont je kao unikatni Survivor.
Da, sa svojim perkovima. Koje naravno uopšte ne možeš da koristiš normalno. Ali je oh shit, Jason. Oh my god, ima da nas jebe u bulju, brate, ovaj lik. Takav osjećaj je. Ma 100%. I samo kad čučiš, on te ne vidi kad je ovako u magli. Ne ostavljaš tragove. Treći seks. Ide gas. Brate, veći gospodin jedan. Down, baby, down. Shit. Ovaj bratić ima na siluje, pa da. Nos. Ima da nas siluje. Ovaj završi dečku u podrum. A de bre, te bre, baš u podrum bre, da li si lud bre, sine bre. Ću ja pokušam da ga spasim makar najebom. Ali šta ću? Oh shit. Ide gas. Ajde si, ne izlazi napolje. Ma ajde bre, da te lečim ovdje, si ti bre šuntav bre sine.
Ili si veliki fan bio ovoga?
Nisam veliki fan bio, ali ono, volim horore. Ono, Freddy mi je više bio...
Cool.
Pa da, ili Michael Myers, ono, faca.
Ali koja je verzija ovoga Michael Myers?
Pa, srednja verzija, ajde ono, srednje vreme. Oh, Bože Gospode. Ovo je baš onako Alucarda seksa, ono, u bulju. Alucard je već na drugoj kukici, evo te, ne mogu da verujem. Brat moj. Shit, man. Izlupo sam ga u glavu. Jebem li mu semenku da mu jebem. Motherfucker. Baš je ovaj Jason Vicious. Come on, man.
Mislim da sam gledao nekoga streamera ima 100 kilova killing streak sa Jasonom.
Ma dobre. Dobar je Jason.
Ali nije svaki build takav. Ima određena kombinacija perkova koja radi savršeno. Ostale kombinacije ne radi ništa posebno. Nisu toliko OP. Mislim da sam gledao da je Hens je, čini mi se, na tom killing streaku.
Ma, Hens je lud. Hens baš dobro igra sa Jasonom, baš dobro. Gledao sam je. Boliština. Da vas lečim, braćo moja. Ono Jason seksa, brate, ono u bulju. U bulju. Jebeno neverovatno ovdje. Fuck, man. Come on, man. Dobar. Come on, man. Fuck. Bitch. Posle jebenih 10 godina se setili da ubaci jebenog Jasona, jebem ih usta baš. Kaže, neću da umrem prvi, još sam mlad. Ne želim, ne želim. Kaže, ne želim da umrem mlad.
Neš da umreš, ne boj se.
Ne, zašto?
Zašto, dušo, ne dođeš da me kući povedeš? Svoje srce predam da ti starom majku gledam. Tako da.
Ćuti, Ilija sad ćuti. Ja sam mrtav čovjek. Nisam osjetljiv, mnogo je napeto.
Evo ga, Nenad broj 2. Dobro.
Oh my god. I'm bad, man. Ne! Oprez! Ne! Opre, mamu ti jebe glupo. Nećeš moći da me ubiješ. Aaaa! Ide gas!
Ako ti tako kažeš.
Kakav sam ja sam sebi car, čoveče. Ja tebi ne mogu da opišem.
Ne moraš da misliš.
Oh my goodness!
Jeez Louis.
Cheese Louise.
Cheese.
Oprez! Oh my god, man! Come on, man! Oh shit, I'm dead. Gotovo. Fuck. Pa zašto ja prvi da odem? Od ove četvorice ljudi baš ja prvi da umaskim palac. Pa jebi ga, volim da igram tako.
Voliš da igraš sa smrću. Se žališ
volim brđale da radim na svemu.
Jest.
Znači popravljanje. Dobro je ovo bila partija. Pa nisam u stvari prvi, da, prvi je već omastio kukicu.
Damn.
Damn.
God damn. Oh.
Ne vidim kako bi bilo s Killerom da odigram, ako ošte mogu da upadnem sad u ovu čudo. God damn. Igrajte, kaže Banket. Jebote, zadnji sam igrao s Deathslingerom. Can't believe it.
Sad ću ja da odremam jednu sat vremena. Relativno.
Okej, važi. Ajde pa će se čujemo posle.
Čujemo se.
Matko moje dušice, ajde. Ćao.
Alright, off to bed, catch you Later.